Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Talking Pools podcast. Today, you're just with me, so there's no Wayne today, so it's just with Steve. And what I want to do is I want to talk about some of the stuff that we've kind of talked about already in some of the shows. And we talk a lot about testing the water and doing the right things and pricing and different things like that. But we don't ever really talk about the specific things that we're using. And over my 2 decades in the pool industry, I've kind of have like a little bag of, I wouldn't call them tricks, but like cool pool tools that I use. And so I have a little box that I go out with, and I'm always making sure that I have certain things in there that are going to help me no matter what I might run into going out to see these pools. And although I don't clean that many pools anymore, I'm always going out looking for new business, and I'm out in the field when things are broken or something needs to be fixed, or if I need to go help one of my guys out in the field, different things like that. So I still need to have tools with me, right? So you want to make sure that you have the right tools for the job. And I always say it like, if you're going to a gunfight, you want to bring a gun, right? You don't want to have a knife at a gunfight. Probably isn't going to go too well for you. So again, you have to have the right jobs, the right tools for the job. So that's what we're really going to talk about today, are the different tools that we use and the different tips and tricks about making things easier and working smarter and not harder. And I always say that to all my employees and all the people that I take the CPO class with me. I always tell them that I'm always going to talk about time, money, and energy. And if I can save myself time, money, and energy, it really, really helps. And also, if I can just make my job easier and work smarter and not harder. So those are kind of the things that we're going to go over today and talk about. So we talk a lot with Wayne about the test kit and different things like that. So to me, it doesn't matter what type of test kit you're really using. I know we joke around and we say, we want you to use the powder so you can know exactly where the chlorine is. I want you to just understand the difference between the different types of test kits out there and make sure that you're using one that's giving you the best chance of making the most amount of money. You don't want to really guesstimate in different things like that. So we kind of drilled the test kit to the bone the last couple of weeks. And with Wayne, definitely in the past for sure, because he knows a ton about that. So once you get to the pool, basically there's certain things that like I want to bring with me out of the truck. And if I got to bring like chlorine with me or muriatic acid with me, they have these like containers, and there's like these little blue containers where you can hold 2 different gallons in it or 3 different gallons in it. And then some guys, are pretty crafty and they make their own little thing little cart that goes on the back of the truck, which is really cool. But you don't want to be going to someone's backyard and be like carrying a ton of shit with you and be like dropping gallons of muriatic acid or chlorine on these people's front lawn and your clients and different things like that. So you want to make it as easy as you can for yourself. Obviously, vacuum wise, you want to have a blue vacuum hose. I'm not going to show you this shit because that's like everybody knows what a blue vacuum hose looks like. Everybody knows what a concrete head looks like. You also want to have a triangular vacuum head. The triangular vacuum head really kicks ass, and I think it actually does a better job than the concrete one. And usually like once a month, my guys are breaking out the blue vacuum hose, and they're doing a full deep cleaning to the pool. If you're doing commercial accounts, they have obviously just weird like spa areas and different things like that. And one of the tools that I like to use is called the cheater vacuum. I'm pretty sure, I forget who it's made by. Actually, I bought it like over 10 years ago. But basically what it does is this just goes onto your hose, and this goes onto your hose, the end of your hose, and this goes onto your pole. And now, bam, you're just sucking everything up from this little port right here, which is awesome because sometimes you need to go through and vacuum the pool once with like the triangular vacuum hose, and then you need to go back and like spot vacuum, and then you need to brush, and you're like, shit, there's a ton of stuff still in here. Sometimes you have to like let it settle down, or you got to come back the next day. And that's why robotic vacuum cleaners are, worth their weight in gold, because you can do a cleaning and then it'll go on and it will continue to clean even when you're not there. So we'll talk about robotic vacuum cleaners when we get there. But again, so we get to the pool, we do our thing, and now there's like some sort of a problem, and we need to go back and we need to either get like our screwdrivers or our ratchet set or like our drill or whatever, right? So we're going to talk about some of these tools. One of the tools that has helped me the most throughout my career is literally this little like ratcheting wrench. And I have 2 of them because I keep one in my toolbox and I keep one at home because it's that handy. And it's originally called a Robo Grip, right? So it kind of looks like a little Robo Grip here. It's got like a little piece on it. And then This is like an aftermarket one. It's from like Glitter Sun. So if you just went to Amazon and put in Glitter Sun, you can actually pull that out. The street sweeper just came by, so it's loud as shit right now. So I apologize about that. But again, these tools, like if you're gonna like if you need to like untighten something or like tighten something a little bit, especially like the screws that come in and out of the pump, works so super awesome. I like them so much that, you know, they used to sell them at Sears. I don't know if you remember Sears Roebuck and Company, but I also have like the bigger version of this too. Mine is a little rusty because I don't get to use it all the time, so I use those as well. So sticking with wrenches, sometimes you'll come to like you know, an FNS plus filter or like a cartridge filter where it has that little port like underneath, and it's like a real big pain in the ass to get to is really what it comes down to. In comes the oil wrench filter. All right. So I have a regular oil wrench filter from Home Depot, and you can open it to 2 inches, and basically it will grab anything, and it's perfect for that little, you know, underneath guy that you have there. All right. And like I said, $10 wrench, always keep it with me. And then for, you know, sometimes you have these commercial clients or you have these old ass unions that you have, right? And they're like super tight. So there's no way that you're going to get this stuff off by hand. In comes the huge channel locks. You know, this has got to be part of your repertoire. Having the huge channel locks here is definitely worth it. When you're putting stuff back on, you have to be super careful. All of the manufacturers are going to tell you that they want you to have it hand tight only. Unless you have really, really strong hands, you usually are going to give it like a quarter turn or like an eighth of a, you know, less than a quarter of a turn at the end with that channel lock, and you usually should be okay. Another thing that is just super indispensable to me is having like a dead blow hammer, okay, or, you know, a rubber hammer. All right, a mallet they call them. And having a hammer is good too, but there's certain things like the filter tops and different things like that that you don't really want to hit with a regular hammer because you'll break it. In comes this guy also opening up like pump lids and stuff like that. So awesome. I'm not going to show you what a drill looks like because obviously, you know, there's a million types of drills out there. There's Makita, there's Milwaukee, there's, you know, Ryobi, there's a shit ton of them. So you go get yourself whatever brand you like, and you make sure that you have an impact drill, and you make sure that you have a regular drill. Now, multi-torque is a tool, and basically they have a few different tools. That this is one of the filter opening ones. The one that I really like is like a titanium piece, and it's like it looks like a little ratchet piece, and you connect it to the filter. And now when you open and close the filter, okay, for DE filters and cartridge filters, what winds up happening is, you know, you turn the filter off, you drain the filter, depressurize it, and now you just zoot, zoot, zoot with the, you know, with the drill itself. And it makes your life a hell of a lot easier. I used to, you know, hand do this and use like a ratchet and different things like that. And my service manager, he actually, you know, when I first met him, I was like, how did you get that off already? I was like, I just went to the truck, and he just showed me the drill, and I was like, and the light bulb just went off in my head, right? So it's definitely helpful to always have a drill on you, even if like you got to take a heater apart, right? In a sense of like, if you got to take the top off of the heater and you're going to do a deep heater cleaning, like you got to literally take off like 20 screws off this thing. So I always have, you know, with the drill, I also have this extra, you know, bag of bits and things like that that have different size, you know, Phillips heads and different things like that. Okay. Sticking with the tools, all right. Obviously, everybody needs to have a screwdriver. I'd like for you to have, you know, Phillips head in different sizes, and then the flatheads in some different sizes as well too, because you're going to come across a bunch of different things. And then the thing that I think is most indispensable is having one of these like little, you know, screwdrivers. Okay. And this one just happens to be from Aqualink, right? But all the companies like Raypak and, you know, all of them are going to give you, you know, some sort of a screwdriver, usually at the shows and different things like that. And this is for taking apart the little inside pieces and, you know, moving the wires and different things like that. Okay. Speaking of wires, all right, definitely, even if you're not doing electrical work and different things like that, you still want to have like an electrical, you know, splitter on this or on you. And the reason being is because, you know, sometimes you'll come and something is broken. And the reason it's not working is because the little wire came out of, you know, the doodad, right? And now you got to splice that wire and you got to put it back in. So you don't have to go get parts, but you got to do a little service work. right? So having that little stripper with you is gonna be really super helpful. Okay. Not only that, if you are going to be working on pumps or heaters and troubleshooting and different things like that, it's worth it to get some sort of a voltmeter or a multimeter, so at least you can see, if it's on, if it's not, if it has voltage, how much, so on and so forth. Okay. I know we're talking about tools and stuff, but one of the things that I do have that I want to show you, and Andrea talks about this all the time. This is from Jack's Magic. It's called Surface Magic. I know a lot of you guys are using like dish soap and stuff. You really shouldn't be swimming in dish soap. This is biodegradable. I think what they said basically is like they use it for commercial grade cheese graters, and the blade gets hot so the cheese sticks to it and stuff. So this helps it like come off of it. Basically what the Surface Magic does is you put in a few drops, and if you have a bunch of like debris and things, especially if it's like pollen or like little leaves and whatnot, it just takes it and disperses it all off to the side of the pool so you can net it. Okay. Now with nets, I want you to have two different types of nets on you. I want you to have a regular standard net, and then I also want you to have what's called a silk net. And a silk net it's got like double bag on it, and it's like really, really fine. So it will pick up a lot of the smaller debris that would have went through the other net that you have. All right. But if you come to a pool and there's leaves all over, like big leaves all over the place, you don't want to use the silk net, because now the net's going to get so heavy it might actually break your pole. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you can consider yourself a real pool guy until you break one of your poles in half, right? I did that for like the first 5-6 years, where like I just, every 4 months I would just be buying a new pole. And since then there's a few different companies out there, like Primate Pool Tools, and there's a few other ones out there as well too. And they make these carbon, and titanium poles, and they're like $250, but would you rather spend $250 and have the pole for 5-7 years, or would you rather buy multiple poles a year at $70-$80 and actually wind up losing money in the long run? So definitely get yourself some sort of a really nice pole. It's definitely worth the investment for sure. So few other things that are really good to have with you. I'm not a big ratchet guy, so I'll always have a ratchet set with me, but like it's always like hard to find like exactly what you need. And they sell these actually like these ratchet like wrenches that you can, and now this one has basically 4 sizes on it, because it's got 2 on this side and 2 on that side. And I have a few of these to basically have like all the regular sizes. And now like if I just need to tighten something down or loosen something up, like I don't gotta like, go in and change it and like have the bolts flying all over the place and the ratchets flying all over the place and whatever. With this, you just pop it on, bam, you ratchet it, and it screws it down. Okay. So that's a pretty cool tool as well. I always have an awl with me as well. And basically this is just like a poker. And what the awl does is it helps with like moving things out of the way. And, when you're working with like those small wires and whatever. I don't have it with me, but I also have like a magnet. So that's on like the end of a little like pen thing. And like you can open it up, and, then you can, because sometimes you'll like go and you'll open a screw and then the screw will fall and you'll be like, oh shit, now it's in the heater. So you can't get your hand in there, but that little magnet thing you can kind of put in there and boop. And then if you are cleaning heaters and different things like that, you'll definitely want to get like a mirror, just like the magnet is on the end of that little pole thing. They sell like little mirrors that go on them as well. And what you can do with that is when you clean the heater or you're cleaning the burners and whatever, what winds up happening is sometimes the heater was like real sooted, or it'll just be running like a little rich. And what that means is like the flames are actually not staying inside where they're supposed to stay. So it's like rolling out. And that's why you get that rollout switch error code, right? So with that, you don't have to like get up and like on your hands and knees and go underneath the heater. You can kind of just take that little mirror and you just shove it underneath, and you can kind of see like how the burners are burning, which is kind of cool as well too. Most of my clients have sand filters. Okay. And like, I'm not going to go into like why, not why, but like, we like sand filters a lot. And the biggest problem that we have is when we backwash the sand filter, where is that water going to be going? Right. So a lot of my clients live in like neighborhoods, like Santa Monica or Venice, where everybody's kind of like on top of each other. So there's no real like, okay, we could just like release this backwash water into the backyard, because it'll probably flood out the equipment area and different things like that. So most of the time, these clients will have like a blue rollout hose, Now, I don't know why the distributors don't sell the like really heavy duty ones, but what I do is I usually go to Amazon and I'll buy the like double wide, like 2-inch blue backwash hose, because now when you roll it out, it doesn't, kink up, and if it does kink up, the big thing is it doesn't break, right? So everybody's had like a broken hose in like 6 different places, and you're like, I just bought this shit and now it's literally rendered useless, right? Which is like kind of crazy because now you're wasting money and time. So these 2-inch backwash hoses, I'll usually buy like 200 feet of it, and then I'll roll it out to the street and I'll set it up, and then I'll just make sure that it goes directly to the street, and bam, now when you backwash it, the water goes directly, the wastewater goes directly to the sewage. Problems that I've had is not, going there and like this piece being broken where you need this. And, these are really simple pieces that will help you, throughout your journey. And basically, they're just hose clamps. All right. But having a couple extra hose clamps in a couple extra sizes, I usually buy like from Home Depot. They have like a combo pack where they have like small ones and bigger ones, and I'll just grab that and keep it in my tool bag. And then I'll also, grab a few other things too. So this right here is something that is super awesome. Okay, there's so many times where like you go to a job and you undo something and there's like Teflon tape all over this union, or goop or whatever all over this union, right? And you're like, what the fuck, like how am I going to clean this? So this is basically like a wire brush, right? So doesn't matter like what kind of wires it has. Usually it has like stainless steel or like copper wires or whatever it may be, but this you can take off all that crap, and then you can also like clean stuff, and it's super helpful to have this in your repertoire as well too. There are reasons why you might need to like plug something. All right. So having extra of these 1.5-inch plugs on you is something that I always have. I always have at least, 3 or 4 of these just in my tool bag. And the reason being is, let's say you have like an older filter and like this is the filter cap for it. Or let's say you have an issue where you need to like isolate one of the lines. Like most of the returns are 1.5-inch returns. So like now you can plug the return. Let's say you needed to plug the skimmer. So I also, not only do I carry the 1.5-inch ones, I also carry the 2-inch ones too. So there's times where like we're doing leak detection or something and the water is going to go below the skimmer. So if you don't have a valve to isolate the skimmer by itself, then what you have to do is take this and plug the skimmer. Give you the disclaimer of obviously you need to close the pool and nobody could be swimming in the pool when you're pulling 100% from the main drain. But obviously if you're doing maintenance and things like that, you're going to be a good pool operator and tell the people not to use the pool, right? So these plugs work really, really well. I also always have these little plugs as well too. This one's a number 10 plug, and basically the number, the higher it gets, the bigger the plug. So I usually have number 10s, 11s, and 12s to go for 1.5-inch and 2-inch. These are like the plugs that you would use if you were like winterizing the pool. They're not the plugs that you would use if you were like pressure testing the pool. They have test plugs that are like long and straight that go in there. But you also would be able to, if you didn't have one of these on you, the 1.5-inch plug, you would be able to plug it with, one of these regular plugs. Okay. What else do I have for you guys here? So if you guys are, I know I talked about this a lot before, but it is so smart for everyone, okay, and you and all of your employees and everything, to have a simple water filling meter. Okay, now I know that you guys, some people, it's like, filling water is one of the biggest controversies out there because it's one of the things that can get you in the biggest amount of trouble. So some companies, they're like, man, we're not filling the water. Some companies are like, yeah, we'll fill the water, but like we're going to make the homeowner sign off on saying that like if we overfill the pool or something happens, like we're not responsible for it. So the solution that I've come up with, and I've never had one of these break. I've had someone say to me, "Oh, well, what if it breaks? Like then we're fucked. Then it's on or it's off." I'm not really sure. But in the 10 years that I've been using them, I haven't had one break, and they're like $10 pieces from like wherever, Home Depot or Amazon or whatever. And basically you use it for when you need to fill the water, but you need to go. So like the water needs, you filled the water already for 40 minutes and you were there, you're done with your service visit, and now it needs another 45 minutes or an hour of water. But you got to leave and the homeowner's not home. So what my guys do is they take one of those water meter timers, they put it on there and they turn it on for an hour. They tell the client, they show them, and then the next week they come back and they pick it up. Okay? With brushing the pool. Okay? I've always said that brushing the pool is the most important thing to do for the pool. Okay? I'm always going to carry multiple brushes with me. Okay. I'll have like a regular, I don't really like the plastic. I like the plastic bristles that are really hard. And then I like the combo brushes as long as they don't have too many of the stainless steel bristles in it. But then you also have to have a full stainless steel brush with you. And the reason being is because if your client, if they have algae, okay, you need to use like a full stainless steel brush. All right. Now, this stainless steel brush that I have is kind of small. But again, it's enough where like I can carry it with me. And if I have an issue like with algae, I can use this to brush the pool and really get in there and kind of get the algae off of the walls. We've talked about algae before. And, you know, as a good pool operator, every week you should be shocking your pool up to 10 parts per million, right? Pre-chlorine. If you show up and they have algae, you're going to shock the pool to 30 parts per million, which is 30 parts per million. Right? I usually will try not to use liquid chlorine if I'm going to have to put in that much and bring it up to 30. I would rather use like cal hypo or dichlor if I could help it. But I'm always going to use some sort of algicide. I like this swimtrine stuff, and it's this like thick blue liquid, and you only have to use like 3 ounces per 10,000 gallons, which is kind of nice. But like I said to Wayne a few shows ago, if you have a client that has algae, like this is the opportunity for you to go back the next day or the day after. Like you can't just blast the pool with chlorine and algicide and brush it and then like expect to like cross your fingers and come back the next week and everything's going to be good, because it's not. So you have algae, you need to come back the next day, you know, and check on it and then shock it again, usually is what it what it usually comes down to. I also use these brushes that are called corner brushes. This one's kind of beat up because it's pretty old. But basically what this does is it's like a combo brush, and it gets into like the little nooks and crannies of like the steps and like where the wall meets the floor and different things like that, if it's a real sharp turn on there. Okay. And so those are really helpful, especially when you're trying to, brush the pool to get rid of algae or to help keep it clean. I always tell all of my employees that brushing the pool is the most important thing that you can do. So even if they have a robotic cleaner or if they don't have a robotic cleaner, like you're always going to brush the walls, the floor, and the tile. So I usually start with the tile and go all the way around the pool, do the tile line. Then I'll go straight down the wall and step over, straight down the wall and step over, and I'll go around. Then I'll open my pole, I'll lock it, and then I'll do, shallow end towards the deep end, towards the main drain. And my rule of thumb, and this should be your rule of thumb too, is that if you're brushing the floor and there's stuff, like if there's a puff of stuff coming off the floor, then you're not doing a good enough job vacuuming, or you're not using the right tools. Again, knife to a gunfight, right? So you want to make sure that you're bringing the right things with you. In addition to having the blue vacuum hose, okay, I'm also going to have cheater vacuums. Now, the Riptide, the Hammerhead, the Bottom Feeder, they're great vacuums. They're really fucking expensive. Okay? Like, I've been in business almost 10 years, and like I bought my first Riptide year 8. Just because like they're really, really good for if you're in an area of the country where like, you have these storms and you have like, you show up and there's just fucking leaves all over the place, right? Where it's like a 3-hour cleanup. Then those vacuums are the bomb. They work awesome. They're going to help clean the pool up. They're going to help make your job a hell of a lot easier. But for Southern California, right, where we have our swim season is 365 days a year. So we have like certain seasons like the spring and the fall where you have like some leaves that or foliage that comes in, is in the pool and different things like that. But it's not like we have like the major acorns and, all different things that are going on. So I do use a few different vacuums, and they're both from the same company. I think I talked about them in the last show, but they're worth another mention for, is the first one is this Pool Blaster Max CG. Okay. And I like the Max CG one because it's the commercial grade one. And this does fine sand only. And like if your pool's really dirty, like this is not the vacuum to use. This is the vacuum to use like when you have a robotic vacuum cleaner, when you come in and there's like a little bit of sand like in one area of the pool that you're going to take care of. And then what we do is we actually take a skimmer sock and we put the skimmer sock in here to make the bag a lot finer. So now you can catch more debris. But again, like certain sand and dust and things like that are going to actually go through no matter what. So you'll see like a puff of stuff come off of it. But again, having this vacuum as part of your repertoire is something that is really important. Now, this company called WaterTech, they've made this thing called the Pool Blaster. And their first Pool Blaster was kind of cool. I just was buying batteries like all the time. Right? Because they used 8 AA batteries that were like the optimum ones that needed to be like fully charged. And then it would only work for like, a couple hours or whatever. And then you'd have to change the batteries out. And I was kind of like, man, I'm just going through a lot of batteries. Like they're $30 a pack or whatever. So I bought them all for my guys, but I had called the company and I was like, can you not make like you have with the Pool Blaster? Can you not make one of these leaf demons with an LED? And they were like, oh, we have it in the works. So I present to you, okay, the Volt Recharge. All right. And basically what it is it's just like a mini bottom feeder or mini Riptide. And you plug it into an outlet. And it has an LED battery. And it charges itself up. And then it lasts you all day. And like if you need to pick up leaves, this is your guy. My employees said to me this year, I bought them all one of these, and they basically said that it's the best tool that they've used since they've started. And some of them have been in the industry over 10 years. Okay. So again, it's not like any of this stuff that I'm showing you is like anybody paid me to say any of this shit today. This is basically a show for me to give to you guys a little bit, more insight of what we do here at Sherwood Pool Consulting Group. Okay. And what I do is, one of our main businesses is teaching the CPO class. And, in that CPO class, we always have so many different guys that are coming in and opening their own businesses and different things like that. And we really break it down to the minute level. And I think sometimes I talk about a lot of specific things in CPO, where in the show, it's more not like it's more politically correct, because I probably curse a little bit more on the show than I do in class, but it's more like I'm usually not like pushing products, or I'll speak of things in like a very general term, because like it's just one of those things where like we're not trying to really, be a promoter of Pentair or be a promoter of Fluidra or be a promoter of Hayward. Like we use what fucking works. And sometimes things will work for one company and they won't work the same way for another company. And it just really depends. So that's why you have to find out what really works for you, and the way that you do things. But again, there's like certain things that like have to be done a certain way. One of the last things that I'm going to talk about, and probably the most important, is my measuring cup gang. Okay. Like when I go to a pool, I have a liquid measuring cup that shows me 1 pint or 16 ounces. I have a dry 16-ounce cup in case I need to put in 1 pound of something. Then I have a liquid cup, okay, from Orenda, because they started giving out this because with with the Hasa merger, they wanted everybody to start measuring out their chemicals. Right. So now this is the official cup from Orenda and Hasa. So they want you to measure out your stuff. They're expecting you not to. You know what happens when you don't measure your shit out? You lose money and you buy more stuff from Hasa. I love Hasa. They're great. Okay. But like there's not many guys on the block making liquid chlorine, so they kind of have it like locked down a little bit. So like I said, they're a great company, but they're expecting you guys not to measure this stuff out. I'm telling you that if you want to run a good business, you have to measure your stuff out. And then CMP makes a really cool cup, and it shows you, because 1 ounce of baking soda and 1 ounce or 1 pound of baking soda and 1 pound of DE, they're not the same weight, right? So back in the day, like I just used to take the blue cup that comes in the Cal Hypo bucket, and that's 24 ounces. So it's 1.5 pounds. So anything you need, 1.5 pounds, boom. 1.5 pounds, boom. But if you look on these cups, it actually tells you where it is. So like the full cup is only 1.2 pounds of DE, but it's 3.9 pounds of baking soda, which is 6 liquid cups. Okay. It's 3.1 pounds of soda ash and 2.8 pounds of cyanuric acid. So it's like they're close, but it's not exact. And my father used to tell me that close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. Okay. So when we put stuff into the pool, we're always going to measure out what we put in the pool. And we're always going to do our calculations. Okay. So it's so super important to remember that if you don't know the in and your out, your P and your L, your profit and your loss, if you don't know what you're making and you don't know what you're spending, you're probably losing money or leaving money on the table. Okay. So I can't tell you guys how much it's really invigorated me doing this show and being able to, give back a little bit to our community. And I always am like, is anybody fucking listening to this? And I had one of my old CPO students actually reach out to me today, and he was like, bro, he's like, I listen to your show every Thursday. And that's so great. And like we were just chatting a little bit, and like he had some questions and different things like that. And we really like here at the Talking Pools podcast, if you let us, number one, let us know that you're listening. And number two, any questions that you have or different things as far as like, hey, I'd love for you to talk on this topic or that topic. Because I always tell everybody in class, like, this is swimming pools, dude. Like I can make it as fun as possible, but at the end of the day, it's like still a hole in the ground that they fill with fucking water, and there's just so many pool people out there that are, not just doing it the wrong way, but they're hiring people and showing those guys the wrong way to do it. So now you meet somebody down, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, and they've been in this business for almost a decade, and they've never measured out a chemical in their life. And I get it from the perspective of an employee. And if you're not paying for the chemicals, then most people are going to have the attitude, who fucking cares? And I get that. But I'm talking to you, the business owner, the guy who wants to start his own business, the guy who just started his business, who's struggling, who needs to make more money to feed his family. Okay? I understand where you guys have been. I understand where you guys are trying to go. And I hope that the things that I'm going over today and what we talk about in this show helps you guys on your journey. And I really appreciate you guys following along on my journey. Because like I said, doesn't matter if you've been in the business for 25 seconds or 25 years, you're always continuing to learn. And you're either growing or you're dying is really what it comes down to. Okay. So again, thank you guys so much for spending your Thursday with me. And we'll be back next Thursday with Wayne and Steve. Yeah. And like I said, if you guys email anything in to talkingpools@gmail.com, send over your support, send over your love, your recommendations, anything. All right. Thank you so much for having me, and have a great weekend.